Hi everybody, just thought I'd give you some overall general feedback for assignment number 2. So you'll see that when you log on to Leo and you access your own feedback, there's a rubric with a few short notes on there about your particular assignment. But because there are some bits of feedback I think that apply to many, if not all of you, I thought I'd do this video as well. Okay, so the overall feedback for your e-presentations is that they were of an impressive quality, and in fact, out of the 6 years that I have been the lecturer in charge for this particular unit, these were some of the best ones that I have come across. So well done. And I think part of that is because of the engagement in the discussion forums that has been taking place. Everyone submitted via Web 2, which was great, so I didn't have any raw PowerPoints submitted, which is always fantastic. There were some really creative approaches to the task, which I liked. Now, some of you I've worked with before in EDFD460, and it's this really sort of funny situation that we find ourselves in at a university where we're trying to encourage creativity, but at the same time we need to ensure that our assignment submissions are within the criteria so that they can be marked in an equitable fashion. We had one assignment where the introduction was a video of the school as it is at the moment, so really setting the scenario very well, and also one that was written in the format of a menu, which was really great actually. Some other overall feedback. Remember, you need to keep your audience interested. So it's more than just presenting information that you've learned. And what I mean by this is that, you can, I think sometimes with an assignment, especially when it's a presentation, it's about taking content and showing that you know this content. But this particular assignment is about not only knowing the content, but showing it in a way that affects some kind of change. Okay, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in a moment. Now, if you've got any questions about the assignment, please contact me privately. Don't leave messages in the public forum on Leo. Some of you will notice that you don't have a grade. I think there are about 6 of you, and that's because I'm unable to access your presentation for a number of reasons. And if you have a look at the comments that are on Leo in your particular account, so to speak, so where you've submitted your assignment, you'll see why I can't access this and what I want you to do. I've left you a message, okay? So criteria 1, 2, and 3. So this is about the physical description, it was about curriculum and pedagogy, and it was about the teacher and the student. So the assignments that work really well are the ones where the scenario was taken into consideration. Okay, so here you have the difference between a presentation that is based around that scenario and based around a school, or a presentation which is really about information. Okay, so the reason why I set that scenario is it gives you a context to work within, and it gives your viewer a context to be presented within, I suppose. So there is a purpose behind the presentation. A presentation that is a chunk of text without a purpose is quite difficult to engage with. Okay, so the scenario was really important. So those of you who used the scenario and used it throughout the whole presentation generally have done very well in this assignment. Okay, because when I was introduced to the presentation through the scenario, I understood why I was there, and I understood what the possible outcomes were going to be. And if those outcomes were met, the assignment was a successful one. I have spoken on occasion over the last few weeks about weaving the 5 spaces together. We did a lot of work about community of practice in the unit, and how community of practice is about that evolutionary development of a community. Those of you who used community of practice as a framework to weave your spaces together, again, probably did quite well in the assignment. It was You know, the community of practice isn't just about one space. A community of practice itself is not necessarily just a space. It allows that whole conversation, the whole theory of learning spaces, the whole knowledge of learning spaces to come together. Another really great tool that people use was the personal anecdote. So this is my experience, this is what I've seen, this is my classroom, or this is how I was taught. As a viewer, you are instantly drawn in when people make it personal, and personal in the sense of something you can relate to. Okay, so whilst it may not have been something that I spoke about at great length, I am looking for people's literacies and people's understandings of ways that they can pull this information together. There's good evidence of a synthesis rather than a regurgitation of information. So the synthesis is where you're being selective about what you're putting into the presentation, and it really is you having had thought about it and reflected about it, and you're able to put forward an argument about the learning spaces with sources of information to support the argument and things like that, rather than just turning out volumes of text about a learning space. Always keeping in the back of your mind that the purpose of this presentation, when you have a look at criteria number 5, is about it being transformative. Okay, so it's not just about informative, it's about how you're transforming your viewers' understanding, and you need to do things to make that happen. Another good idea was when people used the first 3 criteria as headings. Okay, that meant that when I was going through, I was able to see, okay, here we've got the physical description, here we've got curriculum and pedagogy, and here we have got teacher and student. When it was all sort of blended in, I was having to look for it, and that makes it a little bit of a, you know, phlegmatic experience. Remember that we do want to focus on the teachers as well. So whilst education is very much about students, we also play a role in that, and we have an ego too. Okay, and I mean ego in the best sense of the word, that we have a place, we have considerations, we should be considered, and so you want to be thinking about how these spaces impact on us, okay, and how the way we inhabit them and the way we enact in them can actually help students. So the next thing is I was also able to tell the quality, or rather the quality of an assignment was telling about the amount of interaction that had been happening in the discussion forums. So I mean, that's not a hard fast rule, but most of the assignments that did really well, and there were quite a few, they're students that I've been interacting with over the last 10 weeks in the unit. So it's not the fact you've been interacting with me necessarily that made it good, but it's that you have been very active in the unit, okay? Because what those discussions are allowing you to do is to have an idea, reflect on the idea, and then reconsider the idea, okay? So it's not just, and that is actually in itself a synthesis. So you're actually synthesizing the idea through that, okay? Criteria 4 and 5, so this is more of the sort of the practicalities of things. I left fairly detailed instructions about how to put the link into Leo so it opened in a new window. You may say, oh, you know, it doesn't matter if my assignment didn't open in a new window, but imagine marking 115 of them. You know, there are guidelines to make it a less stressful experience. So, you know, make sure that when you're submitting an assignment like this, that if there are instructions, you follow them, okay? Because it just keeps everybody calm. For those of you who use things such as Prezi and a couple of the other softwares, think about automating it and think about adding audio as well, especially with Prezi, where you can have automation and audio. You know, you have these beautiful, sort of aesthetically pleasing presentations, and just to click through it with no audio or no automation was sort of like, oh, really missing one of the affordances of Web 2 technology. But the Prezis that were fully automated and had audio throughout were excellent, are excellent. submit using your PLN. Okay, so criteria number 4 was about understanding Web 2 technologies. The creating something on Prezi and submitting it is one way of understanding, but then creating something on Prezi and submitting that via your PLN is showing me that you understand how Prezi as a Web 2 technology can be used in an education sphere. So you're not just creating an assignment for university, you're actually putting together the whole package. The transformative aspect as well, that could have been achieved by having prompting questions or quizzes. So especially when that's tied in with this scenario. So when when assignments for things such as, welcome to St. Aloysius School, I'm a grade 6 teacher, I've been given the job of presenting how our spaces may look. Okay, so it's not about what they are going to look to, but how they may look. And we're going to have a few questions. We're going to have some information, and by the end you will understand what a contemporary space may look like. So let's begin by doing a quick drawing of our current classroom, and then doing a quick drawing of what we'd like our classroom to look like. So having those questions and those prompts throughout your presentation keeps the viewer on their toes. Okay, you don't want your viewer to be falling asleep reading too much text. You want them to actually start making their own synthesis and their own ideas about these learning spaces. And I think one of the things I will look into for next semester, for next year, is we'll actually have a deeper conversation about software to use. I must admit, from a marking point of view, Amaze was a bit challenging, and if I was a viewer, if I was one of the people that you're presenting to, I don't know if I'd find it a necessarily totally enhancing experience. Okay, so now that's a personal opinion, and it in no way impacted on marking, but I think one thing that we do want to start doing is thinking about our software literacy, our Web 2 literacy, and actually weighing up one software against another. So that's my general feedback. As I said, really impressed with the majority of the presentations, and especially the ones where the innovative style of putting information together was worked on, or where you were linking from. There was one I remember linking from Polycom. Voice conference within Beyond the Classroom, and how that connects to electronic learning space. Things like that are just they spark ideas, they're new ideas, and they keep your viewer engaged. You want to be careful to try and steer away from just presenting information. Okay, you want this to be a transformative and enhancing experience for people. But as I said, enjoyed it. And upload those to your PLNs. Some of you, I'm going to give you a little tap on the shoulder over the next few days and see if we can actually showcase your presentations, because I think they're fantastic. And then over the coming 2.5 weeks, we're just going to focus very gently on bringing our PLNs to a close. So congratulations, well done. Thanks for bearing with me with this 2-day delay when I've been finishing the marking, and I look forward to bringing the unit to an end with you over the next few weeks. Okay, bye.